Welcome to the Boardroom. I'm Ros Gold-Onwude, and I'm here today with trailblazer Nicole Lynn, a sports agent and attorney at Young Money APAA Sports. What's up, Nicole?
Hey, how you doing?
I'm well, girl. I've really enjoyed getting to know you personally and certainly professionally and hearing about your journey. That's absolutely why I wanted to have you on here today.
Thank you.
You made some really big headlines in 2019 as the first Black female sports agent to represent a top 5 NFL draft pick or top 5 draft pick, with Quinnen Williams as the number 3 pick. And then this year in 2020, you had the number 10 draft pick in Dedrick Willis, and you're just getting started. I will give you a chance. Who are some of your clients? I know the list is getting increasingly diverse.
Yeah, I've represented some of the best guys in the NFL. I'm really proud of each of my guys. Some of the guys I had just this year, I had Jedrick Wills, who was the number 10 overall pick. Jalen Hurts, a QB out of Oklahoma/Alabama, who was drafted to the Eagles. McTelvin Najim, who went in the 3rd round. Obviously, you mentioned Quinnen Williams. I've got a decent amount of veteran guys that have been in the league forever. Eric Harris at the Raiders, Corey Nelson, Todd Davis, Obo at the Rams, kind of a little bit of everything. And so I love my guys, but I also represent some female athletes. So I represent a few softball players, one of which is Lauren Chamberlain, who was the number 1 overall pick in the softball draft a few years ago, and she was on the cover of ESPN Body. So I love working with women as well. I also have a couple entertainment clients. I represent LaChina Robinson, who's an ESPN analyst, among others. So it's diversifying for sure.
Love LaChina, friend to the show and a great mentor of mine.
I love her.
But speaking of kind of what the job takes, traditionally an agent usually deals with the contract negotiation.
Yep.
Do you stick to that mold? Like, what are the services that you provide to your clients?
So you've got it right, Roz. Essentially, the job of an agent is to negotiate a player's contract. And so I'm an agent, but I'm also an attorney. So that part of the business comes pretty natural. So, I'm negotiating their deal, trying to get them the best terms, give them the most amount of money. But the other aspect of my job is negotiating other types of contracts. So this may be endorsement contracts, production agreements, TV deals, whatever that may look like. And then I wear a lot of different hats: mentor, life coach, friend, travel agent, assistant. My goal is to really just help my guys in whatever aspect of their life that they need assistance in. So that might be business, that might be personal. I might be a therapist for the day. I definitely wear a lot of hats, and I think that's kind of what has distinguished me from other agents in the business. And, I'm comfortable with being different.
It sounds like you nurture your clients. It's a relationship over time.
Yeah.
That it differentiates you. I mean, how common is it for an agent to go beyond that contract deal?
It just depends. I mean, there are definitely some agents out there that do go beyond. I would say that I probably take it 2 steps even more than that. My big goal is to have my clients to feel like I'm a family member. So for some, it's I'm playing mom. For others, it's big sister. Others, it's a very close friend. I have different relationships and different dynamics with all of my guys. But generally, when I talk to players, I remind them that your agent's job is just to negotiate your deal. That's it. Anything beyond that is extra.
Now, you actually recently were just certified to be an NBA agent as well.
Yes.
So congratulations.
Thank you.
How do you prepare yourself to break into a whole nother sport, not only new players, but, new people who have power, and still have the same level of success you're enjoying with the NFL?
Yeah, so the NBA, that was actually a really tough decision to make. I've done the NFL. I've always felt called to do the NFL. I did some softball, but never really felt like I needed to jump over to the NBA. And then it kind of just changed. One day I felt like God told me to take the exam, and so I did. What makes the NBA difficult is that there are less draft picks, right? So instead of having 255 or 260 draft picks, you're looking at 64. And how many of those guys make the team? Maybe the first 32 or so. And so you're competing for 32 players with, Michael Jordan's agent and LeBron James's agent. The people that you're competing against have done this forever, and the sample size is very small. So I think it's a lot more competitive and very difficult to break into. But I'm excited for the challenge. I'm excited for the journey. I don't know that I will necessarily start recruiting immediately, but I feel like if someone that doesn't have an agent like James Harden. Hey, James Harden, if you see this, give me a call. I think it's going to work out where it just makes sense. I'm going to take players where it just makes sense.
What do you think are some of the first steps of maybe breaking in, getting to know potential clients, and having your name have the same respect where people can trust and build with you?
So I think the first step is creating credibility and making sure you understand the sport and understand the collective bargaining agreement. So, I can't recruit top players if I don't understand what the CBA says, what the market is, and if I don't understand the business side. When I get students that come to me and say, I want to be an agent, I tell them, one, learn the game, but two, learn the business side, learn the CBA. And so what I've been doing over the last 6 months since getting certified is really becoming an expert in what do NBA contracts look like. I don't plan to approach a player until I am an expert in that field, until I know everything in and out. And so that's kind of where I create that credibility. The other part, with the NBA is there are max deals, and a lot of these top players are going to get what they get based on what they've done on the court. And so for me, it's just where can I add value in addition to the contract, because they're going to get those contracts a lot of times regardless of what their agent does or who their agent is.
Right. Now coming back to the NFL, in this year's 2020 NFL draft, over half of the first round draft picks had an African American agent, at least on the representation team.
It's crazy.
Very exciting. It's crazy. It's huge news. What do you think is at the source of athletes trusting and building with Black agents more?
I think athletes are recognizing the importance of diversity. We talk a lot about diversity within head coaches and general managers, but not a lot of times do you see athletes coming out speaking about representation and their diversity within their representation. And I think that we are starting to see a change and a trend where that is something that is extremely important to an athlete. 17 of the 32 draft picks did have a Black agent, and 4 of the 32 draft picks had a woman agent. 4 of the 32 in the first round. And so this is the most diverse group of representation that we have ever seen. And I think it's only going to get greater over the years.
Continuing on the thread of diversity, we're seeing around sports at least an effort to continue to see it rise. In the NFL itself, what do you think about the Rooney Rule discussions, which, there were talks of trying to incentivize teams to hire minority coaches or GMs. What do you think about the discussions? And then, in your opinion, what do you see as realistic ways to increasing diversity in leadership positions in the NFL?
So for the people watching that don't understand the Rooney Rule, just to give you a high level, the Rooney Rule was put in place to help minority candidates get top general manager positions and head coaching positions. And so each team is required to interview a minority for one of those 2 positions when that position becomes vacant. If they don't, they can receive a fine upwards of $200,000. And so that's been what has been put in place, and that's it. Just recently, I think it was actually last week, the NFL has now amended the Rooney Rule where it applies to coordinators, so defensive coordinators, offensive coordinators, as well as any scout that's kind of at a high-level executive position. I think this is huge. If you're only requiring minority candidates to interview at the highest level, a lot of times it takes them getting here before they can get here, right? Getting an opportunity at this level. And so this new change to the Rooney Rule to me is a big deal. Getting more African-American or just men or women of color at those second and third level positions before getting the top is critical. You've also seen some suggestions that maybe if a team hires a high level executive that is a person of color, they can get an earlier draft pick. I don't know that that is the answer. I have mixed feelings on that. So I don't know that that's the correct answer, but this coordinator transition, I think is going to really be helpful in the long run.
Yeah. And the NFL continues to navigate different types of issues coming their way. Right now, the biggest issue facing the entire world is COVID-19.
Right.
And it's really made for a tough time for undrafted free agents, man. I mean, because of it, a lot of the preseason events, camps, things like that for the NFL aren't going to happen.
Yeah.
And so it leads to a lack of visibility for these free agents. What is the effect you're seeing? You have clients, like not all your clients are top 5, top 10 draft picks.
Absolutely not.
And I love that. How do you advise them? during this?
So I've built my bread and butter and my client list on guys that went undrafted, that I believed in, that made the team and became what I think are, NFL stars. It is very difficult to go undrafted in the NFL. And when you do, you are in a position where you have to prove yourself. And sometimes when you're in these camps or preseason, you only get a few reps. And so you'll have one or two opportunities to do that. Because of COVID, we are seeing many of these opportunities taken away. So rookie minicamp has completely been canceled. So all the guys that went undrafted have not even had the ability to show their teams that they should make the team. We don't know what preseason games will look like. Usually you've got guys that go undrafted but still sign a contract, and then you have guys that are able to come to rookie minicamp for a tryout. Since rookie minicamps were canceled, we're looking at hundreds of guys that didn't get to try out for the NFL like we have seen over the last couple of decades. So, it's very difficult. It's also difficult for what I call our street free agents. These are guys that are in the NFL, but waiting for a new team. A lot of them that have had injuries in the past, teams are not wanting to risk it because they can't do a physical with that team doctor due to COVID. So it's really affecting all areas of the NFL in different ways.
Yeah. What advice do you give to those clients then?
The biggest piece of advice is just to make sure you stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So when they do make the call, right, when you get the call and rookie minicamp does happen, because something's going to change. I don't know when the NFL is going to open, but at some point it will. Make sure that you're ready, because you may only have a short amount of time. We don't know if preseason will be cut in half. We don't know how many opportunities or exposure you'll have in front of these coaches. And so you've got to be ready. Work your butt off, stay healthy. A lot of the guys are now already have received the playbook. Make sure you know the plays, left and right. And just, stay ready.
Mm-hmm. COVID-19 is affecting all of our schedules as well.
Right.
Without the pandemic, I don't even know if you would have had time to do this.
Facts.
You're like, I hit Nicole up. I was like, you want to do an interview? She's like, you know what? I have the time.
Isn't that crazy? Normally I'm on a plane, and like right now, I don't know if you've seen, but the NFL, the rookie contracts are typically negotiated now, and only 18% of rookie contracts have been signed. Normally we'd see 70% of the rookies would have already signed their deals. And so normally we're negotiating, but a lot of teams are putting a pause on that. Mm-hmm. Some teams aren't even sending out contracts yet. They're saying, hey, we're just going to figure out what happens with COVID first. So because of that, I'm chilling.
Well, I know this is a well-deserved moment of a little bit of peace and time for yourself. But as I was really enjoying kind of reading up on you, watching videos and that, I saw so much that I related with when you were talking about your schedule. And you said weekdays I'm in the law office normally, weekends I'm at college games, NFL games, and then your vacation days you're using for other huge sports events like Super Bowl, things like that. And so you discussed kind of, it's been a journey to understanding your purpose and finding your peace. Just what are some of the lessons you've learned along the way with this while you trailblaze?
I think the biggest lesson that I've learned is that success does not necessarily breed happiness. Last year I did sign the number 3 pick. I won Woman of the Year with Salesforce and Hustle. I had a client on Ellen DeGeneres. I had one of my biggest years within my career as a whole. And I remember my birthday, which is in December, kind of reflecting on everything and having a moment where I thought, wow, and I don't remember a lot of happiness. Like all of these huge moments, but not a lot of peace. And so, I'm remiss to not tell people that, yeah, you may find your dream job, you may walk in your purpose, you may even inspire other people, but the internal turmoil may not change because happiness is not tied to success. And so it's been a journey that I have had to take and still on, trying to figure out, how to still remain joyful and to not lean on what I've done to find that joy. It's got to be, within myself and other aspects of my life, my family, my friends. But a lot of times, even if you love what you do, that may not bring you the internal joy that you seek.
What are the things that you found bring you joy?
God, I'm still working on that. That's a really interesting question. And I journal anytime I find something that like makes me happy, because sometimes I find that, I don't know, I'm just kind of going through the motions of life. I find that I'm like, man, I'm doing this. I'm on this red carpet and I'm at this big premiere and I'm here. And it's almost like I'm not living in the moment. So I don't have the joy and the happiness. And so I'm really focusing on just being present All right. That's something like being present and mindfulness and really being able to reflect on the things that I've done right after it happens. I like remember how it made me feel in those moments. But the things that bring me joy are being able to mentor and get other people a seat at the table. I'm really vocal on my social media. If you follow me, I'm always attempting to give nuggets to anybody that wants to get in. I know other agents are so annoyed by it, but I'm like, no, here's the recipe. Because, even if you give somebody a recipe, the sauce will always taste different. So I don't mean it in a rude way, but I'm not threatened by anybody. I think there's room for us all to win. So I get a lot of joy by mentoring and really just pushing other people to fulfill and find their purpose.
Absolutely. You brought up mentors. Well, often when I talk to successful women, there comes up female mentorship. But sometimes for women in male dominated spaces, perhaps there aren't many other women, and when I speak with women who are successful in male dominated spaces, yes, of course, there are female mentors, but I often hear them pointing out to men in those spaces who want to bat for them and help them rise. So, and I know this has been an experience of yours. So what are ways that men can be allies and support women with potential in male dominated spaces?
You really hit it on the nail. I tell women all the time, find a mentor or a sponsor that does not look like you. And so, yeah, you can have multiple mentors. And just like you mentioned, there are women that I, attribute some of my success to. But finding someone that doesn't look like you is really important when you are trying to get that seat at the table. I personally had a white male that saw potential in me 8 years ago when I wanted to be an agent and gave me a shot. And his name is Ken Sarnoff. And so he gave me this shot, and unfortunately, because he is a white male, the players were more comfortable with him because he looked like Jerry Maguire. And so, in the beginning, he'd go in the meetings with me and we'd take players together, and he provided that comfort level. My goal throughout this journey of being an agent is to make seeing me as an agent or someone that looks like me to become the norm, right? And I think I've done a decent job in trying to change the perspective of what people think about as an agent. But early on, he was my saving grace. He was my, hey, he's in the room, he'll be on the deal. And it's sad that you even have to do that. He was the guy that was able to advocate for me when I'm doing a deal with a GM. He had the relationships. These were his friends before I ever became an agent. And, he made those introductions to make sure that people took my call. And I attribute a ton of just me being able to get into this business to him caring about women, caring about minority women. Additionally, in finding a mentor or a sponsor, as an agent, I had to find clients that recognized their power and wanted to be an ally with women. So with Quinn Williams last year, the number 3 pick, he knew that he was going to go in the top 5, whether he had me or he had another big agent. It didn't matter. And so instead of just signing with some big name agent, he had the ability to really change the trajectory for women in sports by signing me. And he knew what he was doing. He was strategic in what he did. He's like, I'm going to play well. I'm going to go top 5 regardless. Why not use my power and change how people view Black women and agents? And so I hope that same thought process happens for NBA players. The power is literally in their hands to diversify what representation looks like. They get the chance to choose who represents them. Agents are important, but at the end of the day, it's the play, it's the film that is most important, and they're going to do that well, no matter who represents them.
Absolutely. That is powerful. And, I started the question with, male advocates in the workplace, but that is powerful that the athletes have power to make change.
They do.
And certainly when, you've got equally or even more qualified women coming to the table and bringing it. So, one of the things you brought up is also kind of all the events you have to go to. In sports, I know this, you know this, there are games to attend, there are dinners, events, shows, red carpets to be at, and you always look sharp.
I don't know about that.
Right. I'm always curious, what are your keys to being true to yourself, but also presenting yourself professionally with both your clothing and hair? Because I know that this is a road that many Black professional women, it's usually a journey for us.
Gosh, man, if you are just Preaching, sister. Like, you are preaching.
I
You know,
will
it's
too.
it's just funny because one of my biggest hurdles in this industry is figuring out what I'm going to wear. And it sounds so ridiculous, but when I'm on the sideline at a game, it's like, okay, I feel most comfortable in heels because I'm short and that's just how I feel confident, but I don't really want to wear a heel on the sideline. You know, when I go to dinner, am I wearing a dress? Is it too fitted? Are my jeans too tight? Can I wear red lipstick? Is it too, touch and go? I have to think about this in every single aspect of my life. And it's so funny because just a month ago, I got braids for the first time in my entire agent career, which, girl, I love you, braids. But I got braids for the first time and I wanted braids so bad, and COVID hit and I thought, man, I know the world's about to shut down. This is the perfect time to get braids. And the reason why I got them, if I'm going to be honest, was I thought, well, I probably won't see my clients, so I can hide, which is like the saddest thought. I'm like, oh, I can hide so I don't have to see my clients in my braids. And, one of my clients, I had a conversation with one of my clients, Obo, he's a LA Rams player. And, he just told me, he was like, nobody cares what your hair looks like if you're good at what you do. He's like, if you are excellent in everything you do, I don't care what my agent's hair looks like. And if there's a player that does, that's not the right fit. And so it was very just liberating to get the braids. And then I posted it on social media and I did some FaceTimes with some of my players. And I was just like, you know what? They know they signed with a Black woman. Like they know that they signed with a Black woman, right? Like a lot of them are Black, all of them are Black. They got Black mamas. So I'm going to have to just teach them to accept me for who I am. And really, a lot of them did already. I didn't, it was all in my head. So the clothing thing is tough. My best friend, Taylor Hornsby, which I know is a mutual friend of Roz's, we love her. She has been styling me for 15 years. So any actual cute outfit, like Super Bowl outfit or red carpet outfit, it is 100% from Taylor. She always has me whipped and dipped. I am not that fashionable, to be honest. So I'm so grateful to have her and just a tribe of girls that help me feel confident, when I'm at these events, because sometimes I am the only woman in the room.
It takes a village. But
Agreed.
I'm also going to give Taylor Hornsby the shout out because she's the one that connected us. So
she did. Yay.
Yes. So
Black girl magic.
Absolutely, Black girl magic.
Yep.
And we're proud of you. This has been an incredible conversation. You've shared so many gems. I just thank you for your time, girl, for coming on the Boardroom.
Thank you. It was great. I appreciate it.